By now we're being engaged by targets from the forest on the right flank. In the center, I'm moving in some mechanized to help out clear out that forest. And on the left outer buildings, it is a intense fight. Here at the approach to the center crossroads, I have sent 1,000-pound bombs. I tried to napalm strike the area, and now I'm sending in some mechanized to kind of make an L-shaped attack on these guys because they just won't budge. I'm running into very strong resistance on all three approaches, and that's when mortars begin to fall on my troops in the center. I lose an APC on the right flank to an unknown enemy, so I try and pop some smoke and gain a little bit of distance from that tree line as I call in some napalm strikes on it and mortars. Scout helis are approaching the right and center. Just hoping they don't get shot down, but they probably will. Fighting on the right flank intensifies as I call in some more airstrikes, but due to the poor weather and the enemy's anti-air, we don't really get that many kills with our airstrikes. A few here and there, like that napalm that hit. But and then we find some more targets as we approach the center crossroads here. Mechanized makes the push into the forest in the center, and they get some mortars dropped on their head. I decide to push my vehicles and my scouts a little bit closer towards the center crossroads, and one of my Patton tanks finds a target, takes him out with his 50 caliber. We are getting closer and closer to the left outer buildings now. Not too many enemies left in this area. With my tank so near the forest unsupported, I need to move up some mechanized infantry to take up positions in these trees. My Pioneer Scout team in the center falls to mortar fire. We have run into a platoon-sized element of BMPs over here on the right flank. My infantry start to make their push in the left outer buildings. Now this is a pretty cool shot because if you look closely down there, you can see my mechanized moving in to assault the center crossroads. This right here has got to be one of my favorite things to do in Armored Brigade. Check out those tracers. Doesn't that just look badass with the sunrise over there in the corner? And finally, I managed to get some cluster munitions on those guys in the woods. The thing about it is, with their morale being so high, it's like impossible to suppress them. So, I'm going to be calling in some mortars on these buildings here. Finally, some of the resistance in the center has died down as I took out that mechanized platoon with those cluster bombs from my planes. But now I need to move in and try and secure the woods next to the objective with some mechanized. And here we are checking in on the right flank. Our scout helicopters have come in to help spot some targets for our leopards here. And I'm just shelling this area relentlessly, but these guys in the forest, they're hard to spot in this weather and in the forest, so it takes a lot of ammunition to get them to die, basically. So then I decide to bring up my mechanized with the HS Lang 30 with its 20mm cannon. Something in the tree line on the right flank has taken out one of my Leopard tanks, so I try and pop some smoke and see if we can back up a little bit. Right here I spot what I can only assume are the enemy's reconnaissance light tanks. So I end up retasking this mechanized infantry that helped me kill the enemies over here to go take them out. My men cautiously inch forward towards the left outer buildings as I call in the majority of my air support now that the sun is up. Hopefully I can get some good targets. What they end up doing is engaging targets deeper into the enemy's lines, which I guess will be helpful later on, but I was hoping they would help me penetrate that first ring first, that first layer. Here you can see where the 1,000-pound bombs I sent out earlier just crushed the enemy's mortar positions, but somehow they're still firing mortars at me, so it must not have been completely effective. Finally, we begin our assault into the tree line near the center crossroads objective. That's when the enemy's airstrike comes in, trying to ruin my party. That'll happen a few more times as we go on. What I'm really concerned about is their artillery. Oh, there's anti-air not working again, in multi-layers of it. Man pads and flak. Well, not flak, but, you know, cannons. My assault on the tree line is interrupted as we take fire from something on the other side of the center objective. It doesn't stop us from getting in there, though. The battle rages on across the entire map as both sides call in airstrikes and fire missions. Bombs and RPGs fall onto my troops on the right flank. But finally, the mechanized I called upon arrives to help clear this tree line, but it's too late. Things have already deteriorated. My mech in the center of the map get ready to go attack those light tanks as the battle rages on for the center crossroads objective. I finally realized there's something else shooting up my tanks on the right flank. You know, something I wanted to talk about is once you start commanding this many troops, the amount of skill that you can apply to each area starts to deteriorate unless you want to like pause the game every few seconds and just like do unreal amounts of micromanagement. But even then, like, you can't be everywhere at once and you're pressed for time too, so you kind of end up having to make these decisions where you do recon by force and just kind of try and position yourself to where when your guys do come under fire, maybe they can get, you know, go retreat into cover or into a defilade position, or just give them like decent line of sight for most of the platoon and then just kind of let them do their own thing. But yeah, so it makes it to where it's a lot more difficult when you have like a brigade or a regiment sized force. You really you have a much easier time if you just command like a couple of companies and you focus on like one objective or two maybe. Like if I would have just attacked the bottom down here, the left outer buildings, if I would have just attacked that, things would have went much smoother, or just that and then maybe the center crossroads after that, or maybe even at the same time, I don't know. But doing all three, it's too much. And also the morale setting, I really feel like I bit off more than I could chew, giving them, I think 95 out of 100 morale, because you just don't have enough ammo. You'll see later on when I show you what happens. There's one really long firefight happens to where all of my Modern 1 mechanized infantry use every last one of their bullets. So like, I haven't finished playing this scenario yet, or this version of this scenario. I'll probably update it later on, but I'm pretty sure that I'll probably run out of ammo before I get to take all of the objectives. Like, I'll be lucky if I can get like a neutral outcome. Now, my mechanized infantry that are pushing on the forest near the center crossroads are coming under fire from the side again. I mean, the AI's been pretty good about letting me overextend and then ambushing me in the side. So far, the AI's done a pretty good job at that, and it's really slowing me down and causing some extra losses, but luckily I have enough artillery for now to go ahead and lay that down on them. The struggle on the right flank continues. Rest in peace, Leopard tank. Things aren't going the way I wanted them to on the right flank, so pop some smoke and start to think about retreating from that area. But my mechanized I sent to go kill those light tanks starts to engage them. Doesn't go exactly as I wanted to. I do pop the first one pretty easily, but then after that they start taking fire from the other one. The fight rages on in the center as my men engage targets from 3 different angles deeper in the battle space. The other light tank has finally been taken out, so now these guys can be retasked to go help assault the center crossroads. One of my patent tanks in the center crossroads gets taken out, and I start to maneuver my infantry into the woods here and call in some mortars. A little bit danger close there, but it ends up being worth it. I go ahead and try to move up some mechanized to clear the forest on the right flank. And now I'm trying to get the last bit of resistance off of the left outer building's objective. Because I've taken so many losses in the center, I decide to divert some tank destroyers from here to reposition themselves to help assault the center crossroads. Starting to realize now that I probably don't have enough armor for a solid push over this mostly open area over here. They have positions in the forest and these little tree lines, and I know that I'm gonna need armor to engage each row of tree lines, and I probably just don't have enough. So after I clear out this area and leave a few units to, like, you know, defend against a counterattack, I'm probably gonna pull those tanks back. More airstrikes on my right flank as my anti-air struggles to even get a shot off. It's just not going well for them. My men that are in the left outer building start taking some fire from some stragglers out in the woods. These guys are fighting to the last man. There's some armor in the trees behind the center objective, so I get ready to move some of my own armor up and call in some airstrikes on it. Enemy rocket attacks hit my clumped up troops out in the open. This is one of several attacks that we're going to endure, significantly hindering my capabilities over here. I lose another Leopard tank to an airstrike as my anti-air struggles to do anything about it. More rocket attacks start pummeling my troops on the left side of the map as they move up to try and dismount and engage some contacts. Enemy helicopters engage my mechanized reinforcements on the right flank. Nothing seems to be going well over there. So I decide to go ahead and pop smoke. Helicopters fly nonchalantly over my man pads as they do absolutely nothing about it. But the good news is some of my 1,000-pound bombs find their mark on the enemy's armored position behind the center crossroads. And here you can see some of my mechanized reinforcements coming in to help take this objective. Now, this little firefight right here is the one that I was talking about earlier that lasts for a long time. And between the artillery strikes and the dogged resistance of these enemies up here, I'm talking fanatical resistance, it goes on for so long that all these guys over here on the right in this mechanized platoon completely run out of ammo. I'm making my final push onto this little forested area next to the center objective, and it's pretty much all but taken, but the amount of forces we spent to get this far made it seem like it's not looking good for the operation as a whole. Due to this and just the sheer amount of losses I've taken on the right flank, I decide to retreat everyone from over there except a few squads to hold the road and alert me of any counterattack. And I'm thinking about, well, maybe if I use these guys as well as all of my reserves, I'll be able to at least take a couple of more objectives. Over here on the left side of the map, I continue to pay dearly for my poor positioning. Finally, I find out who's been calling in all this arty on us over here, or at least one of them. Now we're just mopping up the resistance around the center crossroads as my planes conduct airstrikes on the city. I wanted them to help out closer to my troops, but it is what it is. You can't really tell them exactly what to strike. I think they got some good hits on an enemy tank position though. Now this really long firefight for this tiny patch of trees begins on the left side of the map. And now looking back in hindsight, I 100% should have just bypassed these guys. I mean, they didn't really have line of sight on my approach to one of the other objectives. I should have just avoided them. But, you know, hindsight is 2020. I just can't seem to catch a break with these damn rocket strikes. By now I've realized I've taken so many losses and expended so much ammunition that I'm probably not going to be able to push very much further. I've only managed to take 2 of the outer objectives, and I've failed on the right flank, and this is the aftermath in the center of the map. I'm not sure if I want to just go ahead and cease fire out of it to spare myself the slog with the enemy having fanatical morale and the weather being poor. I think it was just a really high level of frustration I put on myself. I would probably like to go back and edit the scenario to bring their morale down a little bit, and maybe bring their training up some to compensate, because I do want to have a challenge. But this ended up being a lot of a slog. There would probably be a way to like avoid certain enemy positions and still win, but it would be such a pain in the ass. I'm not sure if I want to do it, but if you guys want me to suffer and push on through and try and see if I can win or see how far I can get, just let me know and I'll most definitely do it. I probably could do it. I still have a few reserves in the back, and my armor does still have just about enough ammo to take on what I know is at least 3 T-64s that they have. So just don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if you want me to keep going with this scenario.